It's an interesting fact, but more than a year has passed since the disappearance of the Titan Cameraman because we last saw him on June 1st, 2024 in episode 74. And here the question arises, when will he return? What if I tell you that you can already see what improvements he will bring to the series when he returns? Like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll tell you everything right now. As I said earlier, we last saw the Titan Cameraman in episode 74. And as we remember, it was he who saved the other Titans by taking on the Astro Toilet Squad. Before that event, the cameraman also fought, and after suffering serious damage in episode 65, he did not improve and was not repaired. From episode 65 to episode 74, he fought against enemies. Realizing that he was already worn out, he decided to sacrifice himself for the sake of the Alliance. But what happened to him? In fact, we have two pieces of news about him. The first news about the Cameraman Titan was announced in episode 76. That's when the Astro Duchess first appeared. Then the Astro UFO reporter flies up to her and reports that the squad that was pursuing the Cameraman Titan has disappeared. It turns out that the very squad that was pursuing him has mysteriously disappeared, and no one has any information. It seems to me that the Cameraman Titan tried to get rid of the Astro Toilets himself, but as we can see, there were too many of them, so he didn't act alone. Either G-Man helped him, since at that moment, the alliance between the Skibidi Toilets and the Alliance was gradually being formed, or it was the work of a secret agent. By the way, click here to see the full version of my fan-made video. Well, the second piece of news about the Titan Cameraman can be considered a response from Da Fuck Boom during a stream by YouTuber Steak. He said that a character that everyone is eagerly awaiting will return soon. Also, on Da Fuck Boom's leaked desktop, we noticed several scripts, and among them was this one, The Return of the Titan. As we can see, his return is being carefully prepared and written as a separate script. We will now talk about what the improved cameraman will look like. As we know, a new collection of Skibidi Toilet toys was released not long ago. And if you look closely at all this, you can highlight two facts. First, if you look closely at the bottom of the image, you can see a secret text that says, "Time to clap back," which can mean only one thing, revenge. We saw an identical phrase in the spoilers from Part 3 of Episode 79. If we combine all 6 spoilers, we get the phrase, "Time to clap back for real." In both cases, it means a counterattack. The second thing I noticed that was unusual about these new collectible figures is that the Titan Cameraman looks unusual here. His core frame, wings, and guns stand out in blue. The Cameraman Titan has received minor improvements, but we did not see any additional technology here. So far, this is the latest version of the Cameraman Titan, but we should not draw conclusions based solely on this figure, as the Speakerman Titan was also shown nearby, and it has not been improved as in version 3.0. It seems to me that the situation is much more complicated than it might seem at first glance. Many viewers believe that the return of the Titan of the Cameraman will be as banal and predictable as it has been with other Titans. But is it worth rushing to such conclusions? After all, this way of introducing such a highly anticipated character is unlikely to generate real intrigue, especially given the recent wave of criticism. Let's remember that viewers were far from pleased with the way events unfolded in episode 79. There, according to many, Da Fuck clearly failed to live up to the hype that everyone had been waiting for. Therefore, it is entirely possible that Da Fuck will do things differently. He may well devote either a separate storyline or even half of an entire episode to the cameraman's return. Imagine a scene like this. A secret agent is sitting at his desk, immersed in his routine, and suddenly turns to one of his assistants, sharing with him a crucial detail, the exact location of the Titan Cameraman. And at that very moment, he reveals this secret to the audience. Moreover, the presentation can be played out using a mechanism we are already familiar with, through the cameraman's tablets, as happened in episode 66. In other words, I am leading up to the fact that the return of the Titan Cameraman simply cannot be presented in a banal or crumpled way. After all, at its core, it is one of the key fundamental storylines of the entire story, a kind of core around which the tension is built. Believe me, if Da Fuck Boom is taking so long to appear, if he still hasn't given the viewer a single transparent hint, It's not an accident or Dafuk's forgetfulness. On the contrary, such silence is a sign of preparation. He is deliberately keeping us waiting so that he can deliver something truly spectacular at the right moment. The time has come to look into the future and talk about possible upgrades for the Titan Cameraman. And honestly, there is so much room for imagination here that it's hard to even imagine what unique technologies might be at his disposal. After all, a huge number of new products have appeared recently, and each of them could theoretically form the basis of its upgrade. To begin with, of course, it would be quite logical to add some astro technologies. The most obvious and at the same time banal option is to install an energy shield, somewhat reminiscent of the protection of the Astro Duchess. Such a system would not only increase its survivability, but also allow it to withstand the onslaught of opponents for much longer. But this is only a small part of what is possible. It would be much more interesting if, instead of the classic core, a device for lightning-fast movement were built into it. Such technology would seem much safer and more effective than the old version, and at the same time would open up a whole range of new tactical solutions for the cameraman. Personally, however, I would hope for the improvement of the old, already familiar technologies of the Titan Cameraman. Take, for example, the flame that emanated from its core. In theory, this power could be taken to a new level, equipping it with two massive cannons capable of easily burning entire rows of enemies. This would not only look spectacular, but also be extremely effective on the battlefield. And of course, we mustn't forget about its hammer. Imagine if it were modified so that it could be used as a boomerang. One well-aimed throw, and the hammer returns to its owner's hands, leaving a trail of destruction behind. Well, if we assume that fate decided otherwise, and the Titanic cameraman ended up in the hands of a secret agent, then everything becomes even more intriguing. In this case, we will be able to see completely new technologies, hidden until now, and watching their unveiling will be truly exciting. As for the date of the Titan cameraman's return to the battlefield, it is impossible to make an accurate prediction at this point. He will appear after the full-fledged appearance of the Speakerman Armada, led by the Titan Speakerman. Therefore, adding another character of this magnitude at this point would simply be illogical. It would overload the plot and deprive future episodes of the intrigue for which Dafuk so carefully builds the pace of the narrative. After all, the Titan Cameraman is not just a figure in the background, but a climactic character whose return should be a separate event capable of turning the course of history upside down. If he were shown now, interest in further viewing would only decline, as the main intrigue would be revealed too early. I believe that the Titan Cameraman should appear in the 85th anniversary episode as a key figure. Such a move would seem to be the most justified and logical. First, it would instantly restore the balance of power that had been disrupted by the events of the previous episodes. Second, such a decision would be a powerful hook for viewers, prompting them to follow the further development of the plot with redoubled interest. Finally, it is worth touching on a topic that concerns many: the possible relationship between the Titan Cameraman and other Titans. There is plenty of room for speculation here, as it is far from certain that he is aware of the agent's cooperation with the Skibidi Toilets, and even if he does find out about it, it is unclear how he will react to such news, positively or with caution. It is possible that he may behave like the TV man Titan, who refused to form an alliance with the G-Man until the very end. However, it seems that the cameraman Titan is more reasonable. For him, when the price of life is at stake, it is more important to find common ground than to take unnecessary risks. In addition, we must not forget another important detail. Titan Cameraman does not yet have any real combat experience in confronting the current enemies, namely the Astro Toilets. Therefore, he will need to adapt to the new conditions in order to be able to act effectively against such a dangerous threat. But here, too, there is reason for optimism. With the support of G-Man and Titan Speakerman, a new, virtually invincible trio could be formed. The alliance of these three figures is not only capable of freeing Titan TV Man, but also of becoming a dominant force that can impose its will even on the Astro Toilet squad itself. Ultimately, all we can do is wait and see how exactly Daffy will unfold this story. Of course, much remains in the realm of guesswork and speculation, but one thing is certain: When the Titan Cameraman, a character who can rightly be called the favorite of a huge number of viewers, reappears on screen, interest in the series will increase many times over. After all, his return will not be just a scene, but an event that has been long awaited and built up to for so long. And at the very moment when he is back in the spotlight, the narrative itself will take on a new rhythm, and watching the series will become not just interesting, but truly exciting.